We'll now continue with the August 18th legislative session of the Wycomico County Council. At this time, Mrs. Howarth, we'll turn this over to you for public hearing.
We have a public hearing approval for Resolution 117, 2015. Notice is hereby given that the Wycomico County Council will hear public comments as on the recommended transportation planning projects to be submitted to the Maryland Department of Transportation as consideration for inclusion in the FY16 through 2021 Consolidated Transportation Program on Tuesday, August 18th, 2015 at 10:30 a.m. in the council chambers of the Government Office Building, Salisbury, Maryland. All interested parties are encouraged to attend to provide comment on the transportation planning projects.
Thank you, Ms. Howarth. At this time, we will open the floor for a public hearing on resolution number 117, 2015. If you're a member of the public and you'd like to speak, you go to the podium, please, and state your name. Since it's reference to the Consolidated Transportation Program. Yes, sir. How are you?
That's correct. The letter. My name is John Sharp. I'm a lifelong resident of Wycomico County. I currently reside at 6501 Brick Hill Road. My backyard, with regard to item number 10 in the letter, the bike path, my backyard borders the railroad right-of-way by about 500 feet. I'd like to point out two errors in the letter. One is it states in item number 10 that the route would be approximately 3 miles. It's actually almost 10 miles. So that's a significant error. I don't want the council to be accused of bait and switch on that one. Also, the line shown on the low-resolution map, I believe takes a right-angle jog close to the city, and that is shown in the incorrect place. Actually, that line encompasses my entire yard, my house, my property. So I believe that's drawn in the wrong place, that right-angle jog. So I strongly object to the line on the map indicating that you're going to take my house. I believe that this is should be considered the lowest priority on this list, simply because it impacts probably the most residents and business owners of Wycomico County. And I believe that there are some glaring omissions in the list. For example, if one wanted to walk from Pohanka, Ponde to the center of Salisbury, there's no safe way to do that, either by bike or as a pedestrian. There's no sidewalk, there's no crosswalk, there's no bridge. I mean, there's no sidewalk over the bridge that crosses Zion Road. There's no effective way to safely navigate that. So tens of millions of dollars were spent building the Route 50 bypass, and yet the planning did not consider pedestrians or cyclists. There's also a lack of a sidewalk on the east side of Nanticoke Road across the bridge between the Hebron Savings Bank and the car wash. There is a sidewalk, but try walking that sometime from Hebron Savings Bank over to the car wash, and you would say, this is insane, because you have to cross the road, go up on the other side of the bridge, cross the road again. Doesn't make sense. There should be a sidewalk on that side of the road. So those are kinds of projects that I think would be supported and truly make a safer way. I'm also concerned about the disturbance of wildlife areas. Adjacent to my property, there's a woods along the abandoned railroad, and I have seen deer, possum, skunk, snake, fish, geese, heron, raccoon, fox, rabbit, squirrel, groundhog, river otter, frogs, turtles, crayfish, ducks, osprey, bald eagle, egret. I've personally witnessed all of those animals on that finger of land. I believe, just from news reports of other Rails to Trails programs, that there's an immediate increase in litter, a lack of security for property owners, In my location, the trail would be adjacent to a pond, which would be an attraction. It already is an attraction. I have trespassers on my property going to fish, and that's happened numerous times. And then personally, you know, there's a privacy issue and a quality of life because this is literally in my backyard. So all of that leads to the following questions for me. Will the bike pedestrian trail, if it were built, would it be lighted the whole length? Will the state or the county pay for a fence? Will the state or the county pay for video surveillance? Will there be trash receptacles? Will the bike pedestrian trail be policed? Will it be wide enough for a vehicle, because there are places on this trail that are not accessible to any road or street? So, in summary, I think this is the wrong project on this, in this letter, and at the wrong time, especially given the economy. We need to fully recover before we decide to spend millions on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I could, just for 1 second, please, just for a change. Mr. Keith Hall, if you could address the podium, I'd appreciate that. The executive branch has opted to remove this Rails to Trails project from the letter, just so that you're aware of this. This is something that came about this morning. So whether you're for or against it, I apologize. These things can happen. I think it's a good move to make, simply because we feel, based on the number of people that are here today and based on the number of emails that we have all received, a lot more work needs to be done to consider whether or not we will move forward with this project, and if we do move forward with this project, that it be done so in the proper fashion. Initially, when it came before the council, we were concerned about whether or not it had been properly vetted through the public. And I think from the response that we have, we recognize the fact that there's much more work left to be done. The executive recognized that there's much more work left to be done on this particular project. Mr. Hall, I asked you to come to the podium simply for some clarifications. With this being pulled from the letter, what might happen as far as the individuals who could be in favor of this bike trail? What would they like? What recourse might they have? When would this, if at all, be revisited?
I think as part of the Maryland Department of Transportation's planning process for their capital budget, that it could be revisited as early as within the next 6 months, as the county starts looking at projects they'd like to consider for next year's letter. That would give the county, being the executive, and the council appropriate time to go out and do the public vetting and find out what the concerns are, such as what Mr. Sharp and other concerned citizens have addressed, as well as to address the needs of the bicycle advocacy groups that are looking for increasing pedestrian and cyclist improvements in Wycomico County. In addition, I have been working closely with the Maryland Department of Transportation since our last meeting, August 2nd, I believe, and there are some concerns at the state level about using abandoned railroad trails for these type of amenities, rails to trails, where it would go from an abandoned railroad to some type of pedestrian and cyclist improvement. And the case that they're pointing out for right now is what's happening along MD 413 going down to Chrisfield. There's a proposed rail trail that's looking to go from Mount Vernon to Chrisfield. The Maryland Department of Transportation felt they had the right-of-way for it. They were ready to start programming improvements. However, subsequently, now they are in a title search battle, which is playing out legally, to find out exactly who owns the property. While the Maryland Department of Transportation did buy all the short lines around here, as you can imagine, they've been abandoned for some time, and there's a question about ownership. Did it revert back to the original property owner or subsequent property owner today? So given that and how that's occurring right now, it's definitely recommended that we do pull this off the list, let that play out, continue to monitor it, see what other opportunities we may have to increase pedestrian and cyclist amenities, both in the county and in the cities and towns, and continue to discuss this as we work towards next year's priority letter.
For the benefit of the individuals that are here today, where will the next process start? Will this go back to the Metropolitan Planning Organization? Where will they need to know to go in the next 6 months or the next year?
I think that's undetermined at this time. However, there there is a regional transportation planning organization known as the Salisbury-Wycomico Metropolitan Planning Organization, and this is a type of endeavor that they could consider looking into. However, that would be something that the council, the legislative body of that group would determine as they're working on their FY17 budget.
I would suggest to everyone here, and Joe, I'll give you a comment here in a second, that assuming that many of you here will leave once we've realized that this has been canceled, make sure that you contact Mr. Kramer with the Wycomico County Council, or you can contact the executive's office as well, and leave your name, leave your information, your contact information, so that when this surfaces again, you will be notified. But keep in mind also that this could be coming up with the municipal planning organization before it comes back to the executive or it comes back to the council. So in making that call, try to find out what the contact information is that you need. In contacting them, make sure that you're on the list so that they can send you a letter and let you know, or email you and let you know when things are developing over the next year, because that's important. And the first thing we want to do is make sure your input is there at the very beginning of the process. Mr. Hall?
Also, as this discussion may take place in the MPO environment, we do have property owner information for everybody that's contiguous to the proposed rough preliminary alignment. That's just looking at the Maryland Department of Transportation's property and Delmarva Power and Light, and we can assure you that you will be notified of any public meetings where this will be addressed.
Councilman Holloway?
Oh, yes. I want to applaud the county executive for pulling this, but also I know a lot of people took time off from work and out of their schedules to be here today. So don't think that you still can't get up and address this issue now if you would like to, correct, Mr. Cannon?
Certainly.
No further questions?
Councilman Dodd?
Yes, I'd like to recognize Delegate Otto, who's in the audience incognito in plain clothes. Thank him for being here.
I'm in my work clothes today.
There have been a lot of people that have contacted us as of last night and recently, and I do applaud the executive for taking this off the agenda right now. But this is a good idea if it's worked out, as long as it doesn't affect the quality of someone's the quality of life in their at their expense. And I do appreciate everyone calling me, and that's what we're here for. If you have any issues or concerns about any of this, please call us. That's what we are here for. Thank you.
I understand Delegate Cherie Sample Hughes is in the room. Cherie, could you stand? There you are. Thank you. You have a really big guy in front of you. I couldn't see you. Cherie is a member of the
Sorry I missed you.
used to be a
sir.
member of the Wycomico County Council as well. I'm sure you all know that. Any other discussion? Councilman Hall?
Yeah, I have one more comment, and I'm disappointed that this has been pulled from this program, of course, but Mr. Hall, if you can explain what a feasibility study is, and that's what this item was proposed to be.
Absolutely. What we're looking at is to try to address some of these concerns that are being brought up by the citizens. The feasibility study would look at potential alignments. What you've seen in the low-resolution quality map was just to give context of where Salisbury was in relationship to Mardella Springs. It was by no means meant to indicate this is where a trail's going in your backyard. We're not going to address safety. We're not going to address security. We're not going to address littering. We're not going to address wildlife and the wildlife corridors. So it would take all this into consideration. In addition, it would be done in a public planning environment where public input would be sought to try to make sure that we minimize any unintended consequences of any action. In addition, you would have preliminary engineering costs, again at a planning level, as well as preliminary construction costs. All these considerations would go into a final report that then the state could decide to use whether it wanted to proceed with this project, or if a county or city and town wanted to proceed with this project or not.
And would that be the time to have a public hearing after the feasibility study was done, or prior to the feasibility study?
Preferably prior to the feasibility study being done. You want to make sure you understand the public's concerns with any planning initiative. The last thing you want to do is try to make a county beautification project such as this into a contentious issue. So therefore, that's one of the recommendations of why more time is needed to make sure we hear what the public's concerns are, to make sure we can help address what they may be now and in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, if I might add, I think given the nature of this discussion about this rail trail, I'm going to go ahead and place a sign-up sheet over on the table. If interested parties could go ahead and leave me your contact information, so as these discussions continue to occur, whether at the county level, a metropolitan planning organization level, or even a city or town or county level, we'll have your contact information to make sure that you're privy to any meetings that occur.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any other questions of Mr. Hall? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. If you could come to the podium, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm Charles Heyman from Rocky Walking. Incidentally, my grandfather was train master, storekeeper, and postmaster back in the 1920s for this railroad. The late Frank Atkins, some of you might know, whose widow is here with us today, some years ago in 2008 sent me a clipping from a newspaper from Venice, Florida, where the same situation was occurring. And in the stuff, one of the things come out says the easement establishing the railroad's right-of-way was taken under National Trail System Act. Under federal law, once the railroad goes out of business, it can no longer use the land under its rails as the property owner never belonged to it. In the local case, it reverts to the property owners on record as of April 2nd, 2004. So that was the upshot of their case involving this type of thing.
Thank you. If you'd like, you could, we could make a copy of that and see that it gets, if you could give that to Mr. Kramer, that would be great. Thank you. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Simpson Donahue. I live Porter Mill Road at Hebron. I'd like to point out, other than a lot of these concerns about trash and fences and policing and this type of thing, two key concerns that I have, Mr. Hall referred to it, Mr. Heyman did. I can promise you there's going to be some controversy over the state ownership of this land between Hebron and Mardella. The other issue I'd like to raise is the expenditure, as I understand what I was sent by Mr. Kramer, the expenditure of dedicated, I assume they're dedicated, road tax funds from my motor fuel tax and other sources of money that may go into the state roads budget to spend it on something besides roads. I strongly disapprove of spending it on hiking trails. I strongly disapprove of spending it on rapid transit systems. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name's Jerry Matico. Between myself and my family, we own just about all the woods you're talking about on Brickhelm Road. We own about 120 acres there. I think it's a great idea to get this in the county's hands where you'd have more control over this versus the state or federal government. And even though these things go through your backyards and everything, people have bought this property, these right-of-ways were always there. And it can be used for a lot of other things, a lot worse than a bike trail. Now, I don't agree with it going through air property, it's zoned heavy industrial, but we'd be more than glad to trade and put the trail close to Brickhelm Road. But I think there's a lot of good things that could come from this, and I think you ought to think about it before you shoot it down. Now, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Matico. Yes, sir.
My name's Ronnie Driscoll, speaking on behalf of my wife Diane Nye. We own property on Porter Mill Road. and it's gonna go right straight through the property. And it's a 74-acre farm. We hunt, we deer hunt, turkey hunt, dove hunt, and if you put a path there and people are out hunting, safety for the people that come through, I mean, we shouldn't have to stop hunting because you're putting a bike path, and we have a right to hunt. Next thing, if to put a bike path there, and people come through and they wander off the bike path and get hurt on our property. I mean, it's liability. I mean, who's gonna be responsible for that? We have motorcycles and dirt bikes out our way. They ride the road all the time, and that's gonna be a perfect place for them to ride. And it'd be all hours of the night. And if anybody owned a farm and it is 74 acres, I'm sure they wouldn't want a dirt bike path or a four-wheeler, especially saying it's a bike path, but it will be used for everything through the middle of a farm. We're trying to keep it farmland. The farmer that farms it right now, I'm sure he would have a job because it would be split right in half getting to the back half of it. So that's my concern.
Thank you. Any other comments? Sir. John, we'll give you a second, John. You better, sit right next to Wayne there, John.
Bob Van Meter, 9438 Athol Road. I do not live contiguous to the piece of property, but within a half mile of would be the termination of the proposed trail. Before I get started, I want to thank Mr. Hall. He was very helpful to me yesterday in trying to glean some information about ownership. I want to stress that I'm not opposed to biking as a hobby. I'm familiar with the biking, walking, running trail around BWI and Amtrak that connects Annapolis through to Anne Arundel County, and I consider it a waste of my money. I drive by it daily. I've never seen more than 5 people on it at a time. I'm opposed to spending money to do the legal research that it's going to be required, because when I came in here yesterday, nobody can tell me who owns what from Hebron to Mardella. When I went on the Maryland Department of Taxation website, I could not clarify. That's going to mean a lot, hundreds, if not thousands of hours in research, not only in Wycomico County, probably going to have to go down to Somerset County, because that line was put in before Wycomico was formed. It is going to be a legal nightmare. And we're going to end up spending tax dollars that could be spent on some other project, some other recourse, than fighting litigation between Wycomico County government, Maryland state government, and the farmers and citizens of Wycomico County. And I asked, do we want to be perceived, does Wycomico County want to be perceived as a draconian government similar to the way the Maryland the Federal Bureau of Land Management is perceived by the farmers and ranchers in the western part of our country? The portion of the woodland that would be affected between Hebron and Mardella, and I'm trying not to be repetitive, is heavily hunted. There are people that move here in the beginning of deer season, own land, bought it for that sole purpose. There is going to be a significant conflict of lifestyles when Ken and Barbie are riding their Puffy down that straight, and they see John out there field dressing his deer. That's going to be a memorable moment for everybody involved. I guarantee it. We got to take in consideration that most of the land around there is farmland. We're going to take people's livelihoods from them if this goes forward. We're going to take and put these people, just envision February through April. Everybody's in the middle of applying their chicken waste to the ground, or the beloved sludge that gets applied throughout the year. That's also going to be an old sweet aroma for people that venture here to remember. My other concerns, I have some photographs that may help the council if I could present them, in understanding that if this is terminated in Mardella Springs, it will have to cross Barron Creek. Barron Creek has a road that leads to it, or street that leads to it from the town of Mardella, called Fire Protection Road. Fire Protection Road was put in place for that purpose. It is an access for the fire department. There are 2 places in the town where the fire department can draft water out of Barron Creek. We do not have a hydrant system. So there's some unintended consequences when we move forward with this, aside from the expense. And I think we would be better off including the concept of looking at connecting our parks and recreation systems throughout the county together by a bike path along existing roads. And as an example, and not that this is perfect, but you could start out in Hebron, connect it through by means of Fire Tower Road. You could route them around to Quantico, Rowasico Road, to Quantico, on down to our facilities in Nanticoke and in Whitehaven, and have places to park. If it terminates in Mardella, there's no rest facilities for them. We're going to have to build a bridge over the creek. There's nothing for them to do. We can never build. There will never be a restaurant built in Mardella Springs as it exists today. Can't be done. So there's nothing there for them. And I just ask you to really consider rethinking this thing. And then there's one other aspect I want you to consider before we explore this. There are 2 chicken farms in close proximity to this trail. And what I'm about to describe, I believe, is an honest, real scenario that could take place. The avian flu has wiped out the poultry industry in this country in the Midwest. Egg production is down to 0. There's a very real possibility that through the migration of waterfowl, that illness could be in our community this fall and winter. Now, if this bike path is in place, this is the last industry, the last real industry Wycomico County has is agribusiness. If that flu comes into town, into Salisbury, by migrating geese and ducks, our bike rider rides around Salisbury, gets waste on the tire. They then use this bike trail. A dog, person walking, tractor going down the road, and it's right back, and it's on 2 of the farms that are in close proximity. Then it explodes. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your consideration to our comments.
Thank you very much.
My name is John Grout, and I'm a county resident. I'm also speaking for the Wycomico Environmental Trust. Certainly, a lot of the issues that have been brought up are exactly what we should be addressing in a feasibility study, and that's fair enough. Certainly, there are some serious ones. Some, I think, can be rather easily answered, but this isn't quite the place to do that. We won't get into that. That'll come later. I'd like to just speak a little bit about taking another view of the issue that hasn't been brought up, although it has in sort of peripherally, even the last speaker. That is, we're talking about a linear park here, not a park that is a certain number of acres altogether, which we have in the county. But all over the country, there are what they are calling linear parks, and they're mainly in old railroad beds. And it's not only this country, but across the world, that are used for just the type of thing that's being proposed here, and that is either bike trails, hiking, walking, safe off of county roads where there isn't all the traffic, there isn't all the pressure on it. And it can be limited. They limit it all over. There's ways to rather reasonably limit the amount, that there would not be motorized vehicles on the trail, which is one of the concerns of one of the speakers, and my concern also, that it would be for non-motorized types of transportation. It's done, I've been, and some of you may also have been on a very wonderful bike trail that goes from Rehoboth up to Lewis. It goes in back of some shopping centers. You don't know you're in back of a shopping center, a very busy highway, and it's through some very beautiful bike trails up through that area that brings tourism to the area. We were on it, and a lot of other people were on it that day and many other days. So it's in the area, and it's being done other places. I've been up to Canada and done cross-country skiing on old railroad beds in the winter, which we're not going to have around here very often, snowshoeing, but they also, in the summer, use that for trails, all kind of bikes, walking, and hiking. So it's a long linear trail that goes the whole way almost across Canada. If you go to New York City, they took an old railroad bed that was above ground that goes over the city. We're going to tear it down, and they were convinced at meetings like this that they might be able to make it to another use, and they made what is called the High Line. And if you have been to New York City or haven't been there, make sure you visit that when you go. It's delightful. You're up above the city walking in wildflowers and looking down and up at buildings. But it's a way that they've thought differently about old railroad areas and made it a very great attractive to the city. In fact, I've read somewhere, I think, where it's getting more visitors than most of the other area sites that people would like to visit in New York City. Many things can be done. The other thing is that if you're a family and you want to take your kids on biking, you don't take them on our county roads. I bike on the roads, as many people here do, walk on the roads, and you don't take little kids out there. It's just not safe. This would be an off, with no other motorized traffic, where families could take small children and do it. Senior citizens who don't feel safe about riding along the sides of roads, the county roads, which are very busy, would also be a user of this trail, I would argue. So what I'm really saying is that I think we have to look beyond. Some of the problems are very real that people have brought up. Nobody would deny them. The hunting, well, I don't walk on our county roads when it's during deer season. It's just not safe. So you probably wouldn't walk on this during deer season. Yeah, it's 2 weeks, a couple other days. So there are ways to work this out that I think all of us could have what could be a very valuable economic asset to the county, a very valuable health asset to the county, and yet satisfy many of the issues that people are concerned about today. So I would like to argue or request that it is taken seriously, that we take all the problems that people have brought up, the issues, but we also look at it from some other directions and give it some serious consideration in some kind of a feasibility study to see if we might work these things out and how we might satisfy all of the concerns of everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grout. Any other public comments? Mr. Farlow. Good morning. How are you?
I'm Ted Farlow. I'm on the board of directors of Pittsville Volunteer Fire Department. I'm not here today to talk about railroad right-of-ways, so we're going to change the topic a little bit. I'm here to talk about the intersection at Route 50 and 60 Foot Road. It's been of great concern to the Pittsville Volunteer Fire Department for a while. It's our chief causes of wrecks in our fire district. We have 5 bad intersections in our district. 50 and 60 Foot Road is number 1. Believe it or not, out in the countryside, our number 2 worst, although not by volume, is Line Road and 353. And then we have Gumboro Road and Old Ocean City Road, Friendship Road and Old Ocean City Road, Route 50 and Friendship Road. And the only reason I bring them up, any changes that you do to the 50 and 60 Foot Road intersection, similar to what they've done in Hebron, in and around going into Hebron on, drawing a blank, 670, where they've bypassed the intersection would affect the other intersections in the town. And what we're after is to reduce the severity of the wrecks at the intersection and then to reduce volume. Our primary is to reduce the severity of the wrecks. The wrecks at that intersection are terrible. They're almost always T-bone collisions. We've had multiple discussions with the state. We've had a joint meeting with the state, highway administration, state officials, county officials over the intersection, and you can blame us for getting a ticket if you're going from the bypass in Salisbury to Route 90, because the headlight suggestion was one of the suggestions that came from that. Please don't send the bill to the fire department. You still have to pay it. What we would like to do is see the state take this seriously. They have made minor adjustments to the intersection. We believe that when they made the cone turn, they have made that in the incorrect direction. They need to square the intersection up to Route 50. We have expressed that multiple times, and they keep exaggerating the turn a little bit more each time. We believe wholeheartedly that that intersection needs to be squared to Route 50 to make it safer. The other option is to put in a traffic light. That would reduce the severity of the collisions at the intersection, but we're under no illusion that will drive up our call volume. However, if you look at Route 12 in Worcester County and the Route 113 intersection, my brother Mike is a member of Snow Hill now, and he says it has dramatically reduced not only the number of collisions at that intersection, but also the severity. So just simply saying that we're going to have an increase, that's a perception. That may not be the rule. Ultimately, we would like to see the county put additional pressure on the state to rectify the situation with that intersection. Ultimately, we still believe that they may end up with a light, but if they want to do it in increments, then possibly realigning that intersection would be of help. And the other thing, while you're talking with them about 60-foot road, they really need to take over the entirety of 60-foot road from Route 50 to Old Ocean City Road, because currently it goes from state highway to a county road to a city road back to a state highway, all in that very short span. And it would be of great benefit if they would take over the complete maintenance and control of that roadway between both intersections. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farlow. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Morning. My name is Jerry Marshall. I'm Commissioner in Mardella Springs. I'm operating a bit without information. I spoke with the president and several of the commissioners regarding the bike trail and the information that has been sent out, and no one has any information. No letter, no drawings, no idea of what's going on. I spoke to them Saturday and Sunday. We would like to cooperate, but if you don't let us know what you're doing, we can't cooperate. We have no idea of what you are planning to do or what the idea is going to be for the terminus. Is it going to cross Athol Road? Is it going to cross Barron Creek? Is it going to end up in the village, in the town of Mardella Springs? We have no ability to handle anybody there. There's no rest areas, no restaurants. There's nothing there for anybody that all of a sudden is off a bike trail. They're coming to a dead end. Not only that, the property of the railroad has been given to the town of Mardella Springs. They own it. And the trail, if it takes the route of the old railroad, is going to go right through the Adkins complex, which is a historical area of the town which untold hours and money has been spent to make Mardella an historical place. It's a small town, 350 people. We can't handle any kind of influx of a number of people, such as 40 or 50 bikers, when they have these tournaments going on. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
David Kenny, here with two hats on. One, I'm the president of the Atkins Historical Museum in Mardella, have been for a number of years, and we recently, in the last 5 years, bought property on the opposite side of the old railroad bed. Our deeds of our properties touch each other. There is no deed in between for the railroad. So that property has reverted back to the ownership of the Atkins Historical Museum. Now, farther down the track towards Hebron, we have farmland and or farms, woodland, that sits adjacent to the old railroad bed. It is all woods. It's leased for hunting. My neighbor who owns land next to me is here. We probably account for at least 2/3 of that mile stretch that joins the railroad bed. There is motorized traffic on the railroad bed. There is a lane that we access the back of our farm with. And during hunting season, that stretch probably has 20, 25 hunters that are using that area. Now, it's more than 2 weeks. It starts in September and it ends in January. So there's a lot of activity during that stretch. And I would strongly recommend, if this ever went through, that that portion be closed for bike trails and hiking during that time. And then the other part of this is that railroad bed was abandoned in 1952. 63 years farmers have farmed that and got it back into farmland capability. Why wouldn't they want to keep on farming it? Why would they want anybody to dissect their land again? They've been through that once. And the generations before these guys have worked and with the public to allow the railroad to come through. So when that railroad left, that land should have went back to the private sector. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Any other public comments? Okay. Seeing, yes, sir. Yes.
My name's Phil Williams. I own a farm on Rock Walking Road at boundaries with the rail. My question is to you, Joe, are the people that own property next to this that are strongly against it going to get a trail anyway, like we got the sports complex on Lebanon Shield Road?
We would hope not, but anyway.
Well, a lot of people didn't want, I don't know anyone that owned property next to that sports complex the park wanted it, but we got it anyway, and somebody lived 6 miles away that approved of it, that doesn't affect them in any way.
If you remember the vote, I didn't vote for it either.
Yeah, well, you're the only one. But you're the one who hooked it all together. I remember that.
Well, unfortunately, yeah.
You and Coffin and, somebody put it together. So, everybody here that owns property next to it, that lives by it, strongly are against it. Now, these people that want to get up here and think it's a great idea that lives several miles away, so be it. But I don't know anyone here that lives next to it and wants it.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Maybe I can wrap some of this up for a lot of people. I know most of you here. And let me assure you, for the next 4 years, as long as I'm executive, I'm not bringing this back up again to go through anybody's farm or neighborhood, that type of thing. I have no problem, and I want to see the trails. And just as Jerry said, I agree that, there's sections of Brick Kiln Road that could very easily take this trail and not do a problem to anybody. And I have no problem using that. But, Ronnie, where it goes through your farm, I agree with you 100% that that's not going to happen, at least for my 4 years I know I'm here, and hopefully 8 years. But there's other farms. And Phil, I understand where your equipment shed is, right next to the railroad track. Tommy, you're on Rock-A-Walking Ridge, so I know where that is. So I have no plan. I do want to see us, and let me make this clear too, I want to see us encourage more walking paths and bike paths so that everybody can have them. I mean, it has worked in some areas. In some areas where these railroad tracks are, it's a very good thing. But some areas, it's not. Times have changed since 1952, and we're no longer dealing with the society and the people that we were dealing with back then. So for the safety of all neighborhoods and everybody that lives along those areas, I will not be bringing through. But I will contact you because we are going to work on making some more bike trails and making some footpaths that would tie in different communities. So, but for many of your concerns, Phil, Tommy, David, I agree with you 100%. So rest assured it's not going to happen for a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am. I also failed to recognize Salisbury City Councilman Tim Spees in the back. Don't have your glasses on, Tim. Didn't recognize you.
Couldn't see him without his glasses on.
My name is Elizabeth Ornister, and I live right next door to Ronnie, and I do not approve of what's been going on. I am seriously thinking of selling my house because of this. There is a lot of hunting that goes on. I approve of that. My husband was a hunter. He was a carver. I also think that this walk and bike trail that you're thinking about would bring in problems. It would bring in drugs, more drugs than what's around. It would bring in derelicts, beggars, and it would bring in rapes and murders and assaults. And also, if someone falls, breaks a leg, breaks an arm, scratches their knees, calls the ambulance, that puts an extra burden on our local fire department. Their ambulance crews and the fire districts, and I wholeheartedly hope that this is not approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the public hearing. I'd like to entertain a motion from council to accept Resolution 117, 2015.
Do we need to make an amendment to remove?
First, we need to introduce the resolution, then we'll make whatever amendments are necessary.
Okay, do we not introduce this? Okay.
No, this is the public hearing. This is a public hearing and approval. So we're entertaining a motion to approve Resolution 117, 2015. Wait 1 second if we could, council. Again, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Try to make sure you understand what the Metropolitan Planning Organization might do when they might meet. And I see people are signing the sheet. That's what we want to see. Make sure it's legible if you don't mind. Council, I think we can move forward at least with entertain a motion to approve Resolution 117, 2015.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Obviously, we're going to have amendments.
Yeah, I want to, I guess while we're waiting, I want to commend the executive for his action. I mean, I heard from a lot of folks in Mardella Springs and the Hebron area. Yeah, we definitely heard your concerns, and we appreciate the county executive for his action too. And we look forward to working cooperatively with the town commissions in Hebron and Mardella Springs and the property owners on this. There definitely needs to be community buy-in before anything like this happens. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. I see two amendments that will need to be made, or at least, but I will leave that up to council members to take the initiative here. Discussion on this resolution, please. Any discussion, amendments? Yes. Even though this has been withdrawn from the executive, I believe we need to formally remove it from the resolution.
Well, we've not resolved, not taking the whole resolution out, just that one.
Looking to amend whatever portions you might want.
I wanted to comment on the Pittsville intersection.
Certainly.
Is that in order?
It's in order.
Okay, all right. I think Mr. Farlow left, but anyway, we did have meetings with the State Highway Administration. Pittsville Volunteer Fire Department did, and I was there, and some of our delegates, and the state police. And ironically, the state police, the suggestion was that we start having people run with their headlights on 50. That might help. Now, I did have a conversation with Steve White a couple weeks ago about Walston Switch intersection. They had the same problems at Walston Switch intersection that they're having now at 60-foot road. So Steve related to me that when they were going through these motions of getting a traffic light at Walston Switch, they had the same arguments. There would be probably more accidents because of the stoplights. And he said they didn't keep really close track of it, but they did know that the severity of the accidents went down. There might have been a few more accidents, but they weren't as severe. So that's what we're looking for, to keep as many people from getting hurt as bad as they can, as they will be. So I guess when we meet with the state in September, that maybe we can make a suggestion that something be moved forward. I don't want to see any more traffic lights on Route 50. I travel Route 50 daily, but I also travel that intersection probably 3 or 4 times a week, and it is a dangerous intersection. So I'd like to see the county suggest that the state move forward possibly with a lighting system there. So.
Thank you, Councilman Holloway. Any other council comments?
Oh, I was just going to make a motion on Exhibit A to remove item number 10.
There's a motion to amend resolution.
I guess to amend the exhibit. Yeah.
Yes, there's a motion to amend resolution 117-15, Exhibit A.
Yeah. Item 10, Salisbury to Mardella Springs Rail Trail pedestrian improvements.
And the motion is to remove it.
Or just take the whole section out.
There's a motion on the floor for amendment.
Second.
Second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion's carried. Section 10 will be removed. Any other comments? Mr. Hall, the Salisbury bypass feasibility planning study was listed here. Sure, certainly, yeah, fine.
What number is that, Mr. President?
Well, it isn't numbered, and I wanted a number.
I didn't give you a number.
I know. I'm really disappointed.
If I can put this in the context.
I'll give him number 10. How about that?
Can we give it number 10?
I think at the consensus of the council, that sounds great. What we have in front of you today is on August 10th of this year, the Salisbury-Wycomico Metropolitan Planning Organization met in a regular meeting, at which time they reached consensus that they'd like to add a project for the consideration of the county executive and the county. I believe when you're looking at your packet, it is not numbered. It is at the end of the discussion. And it really has to do with the interchanges.
Sorry. Thank you.
It has to do with the interchanges along US Route 50 business, heading both east and westbound and their access points to the Salisbury bypass and having to cross over into oncoming traffic, which we know we're talking about the intersection at 60-foot road, how dangerous that is equally as dangerous for a car to try to cross over an oncoming span of US Route 50 or 13. So we are asking for a planning level feasibility study that's going to look at potential alternatives such as maybe reusing the clover leaves or redesign of that intersection to where there would be direct access off of Route 50 onto the bypass without having to cross over into oncoming traffic. That would be, it's not numbered, it was the last one in the addendum packet. And then consistent with that recommendation, they've been packaged together for the council's consideration, is looking at the same type of feasibility study to take place when you are coming off the bypass onto US Route 13 northbound business at the center of Salisbury. You have a lot of conflicts. We've got cars merging in that are on US Route 13 northbound to get to the center of Salisbury, and other commercial activities on the east side of 13 that are coming into direct contact with the motorists that are trying to enter on to US Route 13 northbound. Therefore, again, we're looking for State Highway to try to come up with some type of alternatives that they can evaluate from a planning perspective that has public input and to look to improve the access, safety, and performance of those two interchanges. These have been vetted through the executive's office and forwarded on to the council for their consideration.
Council questions? Keith, would these 3 projects be all packaged into one, or would it be three separate items that we should have?
I'm going to make a suggestion that we leave them all as one. From a prioritization, we are looking for a feasibility study that would take into context similar scopes of work for all 3 of the interchanges.
Since it's all related to the bypass as a whole?
Correct.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, ironically, I just saw an accident probably about, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, on the same, when you're heading west, west on Route 50, going left to take the bypass south, right there was an accident right there.
It's a terrible line of sight. You've got a curve coming into it. It doesn't lend itself. In addition, at times, you've got that wooded median in between, and if the grass isn't maintained in the median, that also becomes another impediment to having a good line of sight.
Right.
And some drivers are in a hurry.
We appreciate
there's
you.
the human nature and behavior aspect to that as well.
We appreciate you taking the initiative and bringing this before the Metropolitan Planning Organization to bring it to their attention before it came back to our table. Absolutely. Really do. If we're going to make this a number, I guess, necessary for a motion?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right, it's going to be number 10. I guess that's okay. Any other questions from council on any of these items?
I guess the exit from Warwick, that keeps coming up, and I've heard the state just kind of shut that one down every year. Is that something that we're just going to keep asking for and asking for over and over?
Well, that would be the consensus of the council and the executive. However, it has not received any traction, and it's not unlike some of the other projects on here. However, it is something that when you're doing the interjurisdictional coordination, which is the nature of this letter, to make sure that you're reaching out to jurisdictions as well as major academic institutions, that you're finding out what their concerns are. And Warwick has, been very aggressive in trying to get direct access on the 50 just for outgoing purposes during the school year, especially with concerns of if there was ever a need to have an emergency evacuation of the campus. They're concerned that Walston Switch and Campus Drive, as well as Long Ridge and Campus Drive, would not be able to quickly facilitate that.
Well, it's going to get worse because apparently there's a convenience store going on the corner, then we've got Chop Tank going around the corner with traffic.
That's correct.
I don't know whether it needs to be moved up on the list. Either that or just try to get a statement from the state why they are so dead set against it, because they have, I think in some of our prior meetings, they've really made some pretty firm opposition to that. I think it's a good idea. I'm in that intersection quite a bit, and it seems to be pretty congested around there when school does let out, and I can see the point of, if there was an emergency. So.
The problem's only going to intensify, and that's the purpose of having, MDOT has what they call the pre-tour, which is the meetings with the counties, and that's a lot at the staff level, and then they have the official tour, which they come out and they hear the county's concerns. Ours will be on September 17th at the Wycomico Youth and Civic Center starting at 7 p.m., and I encourage all legislators, elected officials, as well as citizens to come out and advocate for what's important to them.
What's the process of getting something put on this list that's not there?
Again, I just think what we've tried to do is compile information and projects from existing studies, going back to that evidence where we can show that there is a concern here that's based on scientific data. However, the cities and towns could ask for inputs of a project on there, and we would bring it to the county's consideration, the county being the executive and the council. So therefore, I don't think we have to have a formalized process that's mandated by the state. It's just, again, taking what's been adopted and approved plans and jurisdictions request, but I think we can add anything for the consideration of both the executive and the council.
Any other questions, comments? I'd like to thank you for your hard work, and Director of Public Works, Weston Young, also has done a lot of work with this, and I appreciate that. I'm really glad to hear that someone from the public actually stands up and, unsolicited, talks about the response they got from you specifically, because it reflects well on the county when we get that, when we give that type of service. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Council members, seeing no more discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve Resolution 117, 2015 as amended.
So moved with amendments.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Next, we have a public hearing and approval for Resolution 135-2015. Notice is hereby given in compliance with Chapter 22 of the Wycomico County Code and the Local Government Article, Section 10-212 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, that the County Council, Wycomico County, Maryland, will hold a public hearing at the regular meeting in the County Council Chambers, County Office Building, Salisbury, Maryland, on Tuesday, August 18, 2015, at 10:30 a.m. for the purpose of hearing comments, protests, objections to the following road closing request by Hampshire, and Andrews on behalf of their client Roger Christian, requesting the closure of a future street extension on Tulip Drive. The unimproved road is shown on tax map 48 and adjacent to Honeysuckle Drive. A plat of the road to be closed is available for review at the Department of Public Works.
Mrs. Howarth, I'm going to interrupt 1 second. I just want to make sure that we voted on that amendment. I wasn't sure if we had actually voted on the amendment. We may have skipped straight to the resolution.
I believe you did.
We did. Okay, thank you very much. Just want to clarify.
Can we have a replay?
I'll make sure the process is, yes. Thank you, Mrs. Howard. At this time, we open the floor for public hearing on Resolution 135, 2015. If you'd like to have any comments on this, please come to the podium, state your name.
My name's Roger Christian. I own 105 Honeysuckle Drive, and I'm requesting to have this this piece of Tulip Drive. It's about 40 feet wide and about 100 feet long. It's never been used by the county. There's never been a road on it, and we've maintained it since 1996. I don't see where it serves any purpose. My aunt owns the property next door. She's unopposed, and the new project for the student housing at the gathering at Salisbury, they're unopposed to it, so I'm just asking if you'll grant it to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Seeing none, that concludes the public hearing. Council members, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 135, 2015.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Next, you have two public hearings on legislative bills, the first being 2015-10. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, August 18th, 2015, commencing at 10:30 in the council chambers of the Government Office Building, Salisbury, Maryland, in conformity with Section 311D of the Charter of Wycomico County on the following bills, which were introduced for consideration at a legislative session of said county for the year 2015. The following bill will be called for final reading and consideration commencing immediately after the aforesaid public hearing. Bill 2015-10 is an act to amend Chapter 37 of the Wycomico County Code titled Ethics Law, Article 5 titled Employees and Appointed Official Disclosure Statements, Section 37-23 titled Applicability, to limit the gift disclosure statement requirement to only county employees at a pay grade of 17 and above. County employees below pay grade 17 only need to complete a gift disclosure statement if they received a gift during the preceding calendar year.
Thank you, Ms. Howarth. At this time, we open the floor for a public hearing on legislative bill number 2015-10.
So moved.
If you have any comments, come to the podium. Please state your name. Seeing none, that concludes the public hearing on legislative bill 2015-10. Entertain a motion from council to approve legislative bill 2015-10.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, we have a roll call. Start with Councilman Hall.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Vote is unanimous. Motion passes. Legislative bill 2015-10 passes.
The next hearing is for Bill 2015-11, an act to authorize and empower Wycomico County, Maryland to borrow on the faith and credit of the county an aggregate amount not exceeding $15,385,000 and to evidence such borrowing by the issue and sale from time to time of one or more series of general obligation bonds of the county. The proceeds thereof to be used by Wycomico County to finance, refinance, or reimburse the cost of certain projects for the Board of Education of Wycomico County and for the Department of Emergency Services, including costs of planning, design, acquisition, construction, improvement, installation, renovation, rehabilitation, repairing, furnishing, and equipping of land, facilities, buildings, and structures, together with other costs and financing costs related thereto.
At this time, we open the floor for a public hearing on legislative bill 2015-11. If you have any comments, come to the podium, please state your name. Seeing none, that concludes the public hearing on legislative bill 2015-11. Council member, entertain a motion to approve legislative bill 2015-11.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I do. For all the folks that keep saying that we don't do enough for education, they need to look at what we're borrowing. So, West Salisbury, 2 million, Beaver Run, 1,600,000, and I'm not going to read the whole list, but anyway, most of what we're borrowing is for education.
Thank you, Councilman Holloway. Any other council comments? If we could have the executive, yes, if you could come forward, that'd be great. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, how are you doing today?
It's still morning.
It is.
That's good.
We get through it. We had a couple of changes we'd like to make the council aware of in regards to our bond borrowing. If you can imagine, we want to change the number.
You want to raise it?
I want to lower it, yeah.
You're going to tell me we're not borrowing as much for education.
Right after you gave that beautiful speech too, Joe. Wayne and I had a meeting with Mr. Brian Foray and Dr. Kathy Townsend last week to try to actually figure out what projects could actually be done this year. Not wanting to borrow money and not be used efficiently and pay interest on it, we've been able to cut some of the projects out. So if you got a minute, Wayne can go over the shoe with you.
Does everybody have the handout?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Yes, our discussion with Dr. Townsend and with Brian, we wanted to, as Joe indicated, there's a prodigious number of fairly significant undertakings this year with the Board of Education. I think everybody here realizes that Brian Foray's deputy took another job probably over a year ago, so that job has gone vacant. Our concern was if we borrow this money, will it be spent in the fiscal year? Can they execute the projects? And if they cannot execute the projects, not that we're taking them out of the CIP, but that we don't want to borrow money that we can't effectively utilize during the fiscal year. Kathy and Brian came forward with a list of projects that they believe we should either defer or eliminate. The only project being eliminated from the CIP is the portable classroom project. That's being eliminated because the Board of Education has determined they have internal funds that they can use on that project. That's $375,000. So if you want, for the benefit of the public, I can go through this list with you, or you can simply read it. But the long and the short of it is that we have eliminated $375,000, and we are deferring $2.2 million. So we're not going to borrow as much money this fall as we had originally anticipated in the CIP.
Any questions?
Well, I mean, for the public's sake, I mean, obviously West Salisbury's the big concern that we always hear about. So, I mean, could you just explain at least that so the public knows?
The Board of Education had originally requested $1.2 million for the West Salisbury architectural and engineering preliminary planning work. You'll recall that during the CIP process, that number moved to $2 million because the executive branch was proposing a renovation to the existing school as opposed to the construction of a new school. So our question to Brian and Kathy, actually, they brought it up and said, look.
Who brought it? Excuse me? I missed that.
Kathy and Brian brought this up. They said, you've got $2 million that you're intending to borrow for West Salisbury. All we can really execute in the current year is the 1.2 in A&E. So they're deferring the other $800,000 into future years. It's not delaying the project. It's not compromising the project at all. They're just simply saying, look, it doesn't make sense to borrow an additional $800,000 this year when we can't spend it.
After all the hoopla, everybody up here begging for this money, then they turn around and tell us they don't really need it all.
Well,
and I appreciate that, but we went, you know what we've heard for the past 6 months, you know, that we weren't supporting the school.
Yeah, the anticipated scheduling for West Salisbury in the CIP was $2 million in 2016, 4.5 million in 2017, 10 million in 2018, and 4,197,000 in 20, I don't know where that number came from. But, so what they're simply saying, they're not changing the scope of the cost of the entire project. They're just simply saying, yeah, there's no need to borrow $2 million this year, defer that into future years.
Well, they are going to change the total scope of the project. It's the 15% less, so they're still working on that. So,
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
to clarify that, we gave them that direction, and that's where they're going with that.
So there are portions of funding that have been deferred, not the
Have been
projects as a
deferred.
whole, but just portions of the funding for 5 different projects has been deferred.
Has
One
been deferred.
project- Yes, one project, which is the portable classrooms, has been eliminated.
Right, and most of what's been deferred, everything that's been deferred has been deferred until 2017. So you'll see these come back up, assuming, I mean, again, this assumes that the Board of Education has personnel in place who can then execute the plans. I mean, that's a,
Right.
It was made quite
you
clear.
recall, Joe, we had that issue a couple of years ago with roads, where we had more money than we could effectively spend because we didn't have the staffing to spend it. So we don't want to repeat that in this bond borrowing.
Is the board aware of this?
Yes, this is from the board.
Well, I know it's from Kathy and from Brian, but what about the board itself?
We were directed to meet with them. And
Excuse me?
We were directed to meet with them, we met with them.
You did meet
and
with them?
We met with them
Okay.
for breakfast.
With Brian and
one day
Kathy,
last
yes.
week.
Mhm.
No, I'm talking about the
The board
Board of
itself?
Education
No,
itself.
no, we have not met with the Board of Education. We were told by Dr. Frederickson to meet with Brian and Kathy.
Okay.
And we,
Dr. Frederick is aware of it.
Okay. I think
Is
it's,
the board-
if its administration is on board, it should suffice with the board.
it's got to suffice, because it's done. It's done.
Councilman Davis?
I was just wondering if the board itself knew.
What I would suggest to you.
No, not yet, Mrs. President Shoddy.
What I would suggest to you is that from the executive's standpoint, if the Board of Education isn't communicating internally, that isn't something that the executive is going to deal with. I believe they are. I believe we're on.
I agree. I was just curious.
When was this meeting? 12th, the 12th of
Week and a half
August?
ago?
Day was it?
Yeah. It was before we went to Mako.
It was right before we went to Macon.
If we would have heard something from them if they weren't happy.
Well, and it was expressed on our part.
August 12th.
We want to make sure that these items could be done. And with Mr. Foray retiring in March, if these items can't be done, I'm not borrowing that money. I may still lower it.
No, it does. It makes perfect sense. I mean,
So-
you're saving a lot of money.
But they've got to have someone in place to take over Brian's place in order for us to continue through and actually pull the checkbook out for it.
Any other council? President Shani, I would certainly entertain that, your input. Good morning.
Yes, Lord.
Make sure you get close to that mic so that we can hear you, the
Okay.
public can hear you.
Mary Ashanti, President of Wycombe County NAACP. Good morning to all. I'm in the room and I'm sitting here listening at this and it gives me a headache. So I'm kind of imagining how some of the folks that when they listen to this, I'm kind of imagining that it gives them a headache. We've had a lot of projects over the years, and I don't really remember there being this much of a problem or issue and problems in building of schools and other things. But this West Salisbury school, it seems to be, it's all kind of wrinkles and whatever that seems to be coming up. It seems to me, and I'm not a business person per se, it seems to me that a lot of this should have been talked about, worked out, and whatever before we got to this point. And if I'm in the audience listening, you're going to not do this, you're not do that, and if they don't have an employee to do it, you're not going to do such and such. So if they don't have an employee to do that, that means that the project is going to be delayed. And that's not acceptable. They best have an employee to take his place to do this. And we like
You need to take that up with the Board of Education, ma'am.
I'm saying it right here.
I'm not the one that makes that decision.
Let me say what I have to say, sir. I know what y'all, I know your role. So I'm saying that, and you should be encouraging them too, to put whatever they have in place. So not only telling me to encourage them, I suggest you all encourage them, because the citizens of Salisbury, or the citizens of Wycomico County, is expecting that school to be built. So they're expecting for you all to be held accountable. They're also expecting the school board to be held accountable.
Let me help you with the clarification, President Shani, because you are 100% correct, and that should be a priority to see that that position is filled. The Board of Education came to us, the administration came to us and said, you allotted $2 million. We only need $1.2 million to keep this project moving forward without delay. That's actually what they concluded, was that we could forego $800,000 at this stage, and it would not slow the project down.
Okay, as long as it does not slow the progress down, but, okay, again, if I'm out here listening to
I know.
all this and
I
whatever,
understand.
it sounds like there's a lot of inept people floating around on
Well,
this
people
part
are
of the
just
Bible.
rethinking things, and they found a way to
Well,
save money, and
they
I think
should've
that's a
rethought
plus.
that in the beginning. Everybody should have sat down and talked before they got the community all in an uproar and all that kind of stuff. That's what happened when people don't work together. And I'm not saying that for anybody to reply, and I know who to speak to, when to speak to, and whatever.
I appreciate that, and we are getting it all back on track, President Shani. Thank you for your input.
For the record, this doesn't delay the construction of West Salisbury Elementary.
Sure, I
at all.
understand, but you understand the point. It just, the perception is that it goes back and forth and back and forth. The bottom line
I
is
don't
we're
understand it.
saving
I'll be
money.
honest with you, I don't understand it, John, because we've done everything we can to keep it on schedule, and it's going to be 2019 before the school is going to be built.
Right.
Opened.
That's Brian Foray's best estimate that it can be done. Again, as I came in here, I wanted to go ahead and air condition it and do the windows and fix it up. That's why I put aside $2 million. You know, the council wanted to rebuild, and we all agreed to go ahead and rebuild, so that's where we're going with it now. And we're still ahead of their schedule. So we're still, I believe Sharon told me it's a year or 2 years ahead of their schedule right now. So, so I don't understand the misconception, and there is no ineptness on an executive's office.
I don't think that was implied. I think it was implied that the Board of Education needs to get back on track. If Brian Foray needs an assistant, they need to get that assistant in there.
He does.
And
Well,
they realize
make that
that.
replacement.
In their defense, they have been advertising, they've been trying to source a person, they haven't been successful in doing that.
Yeah, there's a process.
Right.
But you have to recognize the frustrations. I recognize the frustrations. But it'll all get done. I have confidence it'll all get done.
No, it'll get done. And like I say, we just didn't want to borrow any more money than what could actually be used. I mean, there's no sense in having $10 in a checkbook when we can only spend 7 of it.
Yes.
So,
I think that's admirable of,
thank you.
of you all doing.
Yeah, well,
Councilman Kilmer?
We appreciate you coming to explain it because, you know, we have a lot of information on our side of the table, and sometimes the public perception is different. So, we appreciate the fact that, you've been very responsive, to come to the meetings, to sit down and, respond to the public and, explain the information so that people know what's going on. But yeah, if we don't need to borrow, if they can't use the money, there's no sense in borrowing it. That makes perfect sense. So.
I'd like to thank Dr. Townsend and Mr. Foray too, because in a lot of situations, some folks in that situation would say, hey, they're going to let us borrow it, we'll borrow it anyway, whether we need it or not.
No, they were
And
very.
I think that's
They were
commendable
very
of them to-
proactive.
yeah,
They were very
commendable of
proactive.
them to-
That's very good. I know that's an excellent exchange of information and concern over the dollars being spent. Councilman Dodd?
I would like to commend the executive administrator, Dr. Townsend, and Mr. Foray for working together on getting this done. They're saving taxpayers' money. There's no delay in the project from what we see. And I do believe the Board of Education's on board with this, otherwise we would have heard from them by now. And I don't like seeing money laying around too, so I commend you for getting that reduction there. And I'm anxious to see this project move forward too, and thank you guys very much for working on this.
All right, so what's our new total?
That was my question. I know you're doing the math.
Did you see me working on
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question, Maureen. Do you really have to, if we're going to borrow less than what's in the,
We have to amend the bill.
you do have to amend the bill?
Okay.
Can't borrow up to? Okay.
Now, that's called an open check.
What's the total?
So before contingency, it's $12,983,454.
All right.
12,983, 454.
Correct.
Can you say that one more time, please?
No sense.
$12,983. Sorry, $12,983,454.
Need an amendment. I need a motion, please.
So moved. I'll make that
Second.
motion.
But I didn't finish. Sorry, I kept the contingency the same. I don't know what bond counsel would do. I don't know whether she would keep it the same or not. Keeping it the same, your total, including contingency, is $13,185,000.
And I should point out that we spoke with Sam Ketterman and Joe Mason at MACO, our bond advisors. The lowering of the amount of the issue won't prejudice our ability to attract a broad spectrum market and get a good interest rate.
The contingency was the 375? Was that?
The contingency is listed on page 3 was $201,546.
Okay.
This borrowing also puts us on track for our new radio system too, for EMS, which is very important.
Which is 1/3 of the borrowing, so the school really doesn't take that major portion. It only takes two-thirds of the portion.
Isn't two-thirds major? It's majority.
Two-thirds is more than half.
I'm aware of this gavel out there.
But it's not all.
Thank you, Councilman Hall.
So an amendment will be needed made to change wherever it has the $15 million number, and a motion would be needed to amend that to the $13 million number. And then because you're essentially taking off 1, 2, 4 projects and reducing the funding of one, I think those specifically need to be named, because that's also on page 3.
Do you have this, Maureen?
Yeah, I was giving a copy.
Okay, one question, a timing question.
Yeah.
Would we want to table this and bring it back?
It has to be done
Has to be
today.
done today. Thank you.
Do you want me to make that motion?
I would love for you to make that motion.
I would like to make a motion to adjust in Legislative Bill 2015-11, any instance where the number 15,385,000 is referenced, change it to 13,185,000, as well as on page 3, adjust the West Salisbury School systemic renovation and replacement from $2 million to $1.2 million. For the Delmar systemic renovations, defer or remove number C, letter C. Remove Pinehurst therapy tank conversion. Remove, actually, the portable classroom isn't in
It's
there
already out.
anyway,
Eliminated.
yeah, already out. And also remove the Mardella Middle High School systemic renovation. And also remove Wycomico Middle systemic renovation roofs, L. Good.
Any other,
That was a motion.
oh, okay, there's a motion. Thank you for the motion. Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Who was the second?
Joe Hall.
Joe?
The,
Makes it easier on him.
question on the Mardella Middle High School systemic renovation, that is a lower priority than the track?
Obviously so. This came from Mr. Foray, not us. They made the call.
I know there's a lot of interest in the track at Mardella.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. I just wanted to ask.
So, yeah, that'd be good to let the public know the track is still on for Mardella. Good.
Yeah, it has to do, John, with the type work it is.
Understood. Any other questions, comments? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Amendment is approved. Any other discussion on Legislative Bill 2015-11 as amended?
Thank you, Matt.
Seeing none. All those in favor, roll call. We'll start with Councilman Dodd.
Yes, sir, aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion's carried. Legislative Bill 2015-11 passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Spend it wisely. Spend it wisely.
Where are we?
Public comments.
Public comments. At this time, we are open for public comments. Please come to the podium and state your name. President Shani, good morning.
My name is Mary Ashanti. I'm president of Wycomico County NAACP. To President Cannon, County Exec Carver, and all those assembled, good morning. What I wish to speak to is discuss the violence in the community and the root causes of it. I attended an initiative by Mayor Ireton on the 13th, which I commend him for. One of the things I want to mention is that, before I go into that, so many times we talk about city and county working together. I didn't see anyone from the county at that initiative. And so I'm hoping that if he have any more, that we have some county participation and involvement. Okay, so this issue came about as a result of about 4 murders within the past, I said, well, 3 recently. The recommendations that the NAACP made is that having community policing in Salisbury and jurisdictions of Wycomico County. Now, the Salisbury City Police are trying to do community policing. The way it can happen in the county is that we recommend that the sheriff department in areas like Indian Village over there in the Richmond Avenue area and some of those other areas that are considered a challenge or hot spots, that they have two deputies getting out in good weather, getting to know the neighborhood, because for community policing to be effective and for improvement in law enforcement and citizen relationship, they need to know the officers that police their area, and they need to know, the officers need to know them. The second thing that we recommended is that Department of Social Services and Juvenile Services need to be included in all aspects of resolving the root causes of the problems that we're having. Third is use Wycomico Partnership for Families and Children and Department of Social Services resources for strengthening the families. Fourth, Department of Social Services, we encourage them to use the full authority of their department to urge and encourage its customers to complete job readiness courses and help them to find internships when jobs are not available. And 5, many feel that neighborhoods are deemed hotspots according to who lives in the area. And it was expressed by our organization that cops treat people that live in hot spots as hoodlums. And that was told to us by some of the communities. So if they're doing community policing, we think that that will improve. Recommendation for gun buyback at church or neutral territory, not at a police station or law enforcement or the sheriff's department. Also, and you can Google this, there's a Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryan, and he has an empowerment temple in Baltimore. I mean, that may not be the complete name of it. But he has been successful in working in the community in reference to gun buybacks, in reference to getting gangs to work together. So I would suggest that we coalesce with the city in working with that. in reference to gang activity, use respected persons such as Eddie Harmon, Jericho Mitchell, and there are others that are able to talk to gang members, try to get the gang members to work together to help prevent violence in the community, to help broker peace. And one of the things that was mentioned is in reference to mental health. So many parents are complaining about when there is mental health available, and there's not enough, but when it is available, there's so many African-American children are medicated to get them to comply instead of counseling and whatever. So that's just a part of what we recommended. Also, Reverend Thompson and a group of people that he's working with are looking to do a summit so they can have a family parenting training utilizing local management. And we're hoping that the summit will address the black-on-black crime and the violence in the community. Thank you.
President Shawnee, could you possibly lead that list with Mr. Kramer, or maybe within the week get a list to him?
This list,
Yes.
I'll go get a copy.
No, we'll do it for you if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Good day, County Council. I don't know whether it's morning or afternoon yet.
Still morning. You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds, huh? Good morning. I'm Delegate Cherie Sample Hughes, representing District 37A. I wanted to touch on just a few points. One with regards to the CIP. I just wanted to make a suggestion. Those of you who serve on the School Building Commission, if possible, when there are meetings and discussion about West Salisbury Elementary School, if you could bring that back to the council and just have that update for the council, whether there is progress or lack thereof progress, so the public can be knowledgeable of what is going on, because there is a whole lot of concern in the county and in the community as a whole. So that just is a suggestion, because public meetings with school building commissions aren't televised, so that may be another venue to have that information right here for the community. Now, I know a statement was made about, citizens begging for funds, but let's be mindful of the fact that they are taxpayers. We are in this collectively, just as we were able to build Bennett Middle School through tears and fussing and all that good stuff. It's there, and I would love and pray that we see the same thing with with West Salisbury Elementary School. On the Consolidated Transportation Plan, I'd just like to commend the county executive and the council for recognizing that the citizens are very concerned about that particular area in Hebron and Mardella, because it is a concern, and I heard phone calls just like I know many of you have heard within the past 24 hours, and so I think that it is necessary to move in that direction. I do certainly believe that it's still and will continue to remain a priority, because bike paths and all of those walking paths are very important. Serving on the Health and Government Operations Committee in the House, we're seeing and getting a lot of bills that are around those type of issues as far as making sure that the communities are healthy. So I do applaud your efforts on that. And then my last comment on today is regarding when I received an email from the State Treasurer, Nancy Kopp, back on March the 4th about their decision to support the funding for the Wycomico Housing Authority project. I was elated, because I knew that this was a step in the right direction. In our community, I'm sure you are aware for many years, and it's continuing to this very moment, we have people sleeping on Adventist Drive in the woods. And so to have additional affordable housing in our community is necessary, and it has to be at all income levels. And that's what I appreciate about this particular project. They're looking at persons who are certainly below poverty, but also the different levels. Is it 30%, 60%, and that can afford housing at different income levels. Our area has been, for many years, rents are expensive. It's really pretty high. But if we can have positive projects like our Wycomico Housing Authority to address the housing needs, then we need to continue to support that. I've seen positive projects right here in the county, and I think collectively we can continue to do that. So as soon as I get information from the state on projects that's going to support Wycomico County, I'll bring that back to you. But this is one in particular today. I was pleased to see it move forward. So I just want to say thank you for your vote on that, and that we can continue in the positive direction in Wycomico County.
Thank you, Delegate Sample Hughes. You're doing an excellent job representing us in Annapolis. Thank you very much. Any other public comments?
I'd like to take just a quick moment to thank all those involved in the Wycomico County Fair and into the council members for agreeing with us that we felt like giving them a break on the lease has helped start it back. We had a great show this past weekend, in case any of you didn't make it out there, but they're estimating the crowd's between 8,000 and 9,000 people compared to last year of about 800 people. So Zach Evans did a wonderful job. I think everybody that participated had a great time, so it was very good. So, and Mrs. Chantel, the reason no one from our county couldn't make, we were down to Mako last week, and all of our county executive staff we had meetings till 8, 9 o'clock at night, so I apologize, but if it was scheduled at a better time, we would love to attend that balance committee meeting. We'd be happy to. So, and thank you all again.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, council comments.
Yes.
Councilman Dodd.
Mrs. Shante, I try to attend events like that, and as the executive said, we were at MACO. MACO is the Maryland Association of Counties, for the public if they didn't know. I live in the city, so I am interested in things like that because I'm very close to the events that happen. The executive said, we did attend MACO. That is an excellent opportunity for networking, for education, and for the economy. It brings a lot of people to Ocean City, and these people stop in Wycomico County and the city of Salisbury to get gas, to get food on their way to Ocean City. So it's a great event. We do it annually. We also have a winter conference, and it was excellent. I'd like to recognize Del Mar Little League. They went pretty far in the Little League World Series. They went to the Mid-Atlantic Regional. They almost won that. They were one game away from going to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is a big event for kids. It's a dream of a lifetime for kids to play at Williamsport. So they did very well. There are other Little Leagues. West Salisbury won their state division and two of the different leagues, and they did very well. And that's great. Baseball is a big event here in Wycomico County, just like softball is. Got a lot of talented athletes in this county. The Morris Mill project update is, I think, was that next Monday, the 24th, or is that Tuesday at Fruitland City Hall? I will be attending if anyone's interested. It's a big project going on. Fruitland also has the Falcon Youth Sports. Their kickoff is August 28th, and that is a big event. They have over 800 kids playing there, and they've invited the council. I've agreed to go, and I think some other members will probably be attending. Like I said, it's a big event. Congressman Andy Harris will be at the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce on Thursday, and I think I did RSVP that. I hope other members will attend as well. And I didn't mean to miss you. You were hiding in the crowd just like City Councilman Spees was with his glasses off. But I did recognize Charles Otto out there. So thank you for attending. Did have a great turnout. People ended up leaving. That's the nature of the beast. When we have an issue that affects a lot of people, you see more people and then they leave. And thank you for attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dodd. Councilman Davis?
Yes. I'd like to commend the group, the Concerned Citizens of the West Side. On August 8th, they did a cleanup on the west side. And Mr. Hall, I did attend, along with County Exec. Rob Carver was there, and it was a great event. I mean, we cleaned up a lot. And I'd like to thank the warden for sending out the inmates. They sent out about 20 people from the jail. And I also want to thank the people from the west side that came out and helped. It was a good event, and we found a grave that no one knew was there. Yes, it was legal. He got scared because he just wanted to make sure the body was in the ground, not above the ground. And I think it's probably historic. The name on the grave was Laverne Cox. Yeah. From the creek. Yeah.
Stop that, Councilman Holloway.
I concede all my time to Larry. I think we can No, I want to thank everybody that was involved in getting the carriage house fixed up. We went to the ribbon cutting last week. Rec and Parks and the contractors, and of course the council and everybody that saw fit to put the money forward. It made a big difference. There's some work to be done out there, a lot of work to be done, but it's better. And like Bob said, the county fair, it was a big improvement over what we've seen the past few years, and I think it's something they can really grow on. A lot of folks there, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Holloway. Any other council comments? Councilman Hall?
I'd like to thank the county administration and the employees of Wycomico County for helping me in making a decision on the pilot program. Without the information they were able to furnish me, I'm sure that a number of us on the council would not have been able to come up with the decision that we made to go ahead and go forward with this. And I'd like to thank them very much. Most of the employees.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Kilburn.
Well, yeah, I'd like to echo that too. I mean, I heard from folks in Mardella Springs, about this Rails to Trails issue, and they said that they had spent time with Mr. Hall, and that he had devoted, at least an hour.
The other Mr. Hall.
Yeah,
Mr. Keith Hall.
Yes, the Mr. Hall that works for the county. Yes, that he was nothing but helpful to them as they were researching this. So that's a good reflection upon our county employees, and also for the county fair. It was an excellent event, so much bigger than last year. I mean, it's hard to believe it's the same event. Go in there this year compared to going there last year. You could hardly find parking this year. I mean, there's so many more things. So my family had a great time there. So I commend everybody that had a part in that.
Thank you, Councilman Kilmer. Under presidential comments, I also attended the fair. It was excellent. I'm so glad to see it progressing as it is. In reference to today's meeting, I would like to thank everybody that attended. And that's the truest form of democracy, when you can get the public at a meeting to tell us exactly what they want. That makes our job easier. And I appreciate them for taking their time out, as Councilman Holloway said, for taking their time out from work or from the families to attend this meeting and give us their input. We really do appreciate that when they exercise that right. Also like to thank the council, because in the executive, I think it's a very productive meeting today. We covered a lot of territory. We got a lot of information done. We got a lot of good work done for the county. And when meetings go like this, I appreciate it. When they go like this and we're out by 12:10, I appreciate it. So again, I'd like to thank the executive and the council for such a productive meeting, as well as the public who attended. With that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn so that we can go into open work session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Meeting's adjourned.